morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, everyone. Bonjour. Hamjambo. Welcome to this wonderful session. Kindly take your seats. I'm really happy to welcome you here. My name is Vincent Owino. I'm a journalist from Kenya. I hope you're all happy to be here to this wonderful session. I know if you're here today, it's SME financing is something that is really close to your heart, as it is to my heart. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the session. Feel very welcome. And at the end of the session, we'll have a very interactive session where we can ask questions and share our views and reflections about the session. All right, so to get us started, I'll welcome to the stage Mr. Sergio Pimenta, who's going to give us the welcoming remarks about this session. We're going to be talking about, our theme for today is empowering SMEs, African MSMEs ecosystem through synergistic partnerships. All right, so round of applause as we welcome Mr. Sergio Pimenta to the stage to give us welcoming remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vincent. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this session. I'm extremely happy and honored to give this opening remarks and also to give you a bit of an overview of where we are with the Alliance. So it's really a great opportunity to be here this morning, so thank you. So what I will try to do in a few minutes is just summarize a little bit where the Alliance is at this stage. We did a session like this one at the AFES 2 years ago in 2022. We had other sessions at other events organized by other members of the Alliance, but it is always good when we have such an event and a large gathering like AFES to bring everybody together around the theme of the Alliance and to use this opportunity not just to give you an update on where we are, but also to learn about potential operations, what can be done through the Alliance, and to hear from you your ideas and your sources of innovation. So I'm very, very happy that we can have this discussion. I also want to mention that I'm very impressed by the growth of the Alliance since the last time we met, and the way we've been transitioning as we've been adding associate members to the core members that founded the Alliance. I think it's really triggered a very interesting and dynamic transition, and I'm very happy that you will see and you'll hear today the contributions that the core members have been bringing. Overall, I have to say that the brand of the Alliance has been evolving, and that's really due to your efforts, your communication, your innovation, and also the setting up of these working groups. And you're going to hear a little bit about it. It's been one of the new features of the Alliance that I think is having a lot of impact. But before I get into those topics, I really would like to express my gratitude to the Trésor, who's been the sponsor of the initiative and has been really supporting it, including financially, and has been really an important sponsor and partner in the Alliance for Entrepreneurship. And I also want to thank all the members, the core members and the associate members, because they've really brought a new level of energy to this initiative. In terms of the IFC's role, I mean, as you know, we are ensuring the secretariat of the Alliance, which is a role that we take a lot of pride on, but we also want to really recognize that this is a collective effort. So every member's contributions have been extremely important. So the theme of this session is time to mobilize Africa's financial power at the AFES 2024, right? And this is really relevant for the Alliance, because this session, we've called it Empowering Africa's MSME Ecosystem Through Systemic Partnerships, because there's a real echo between the theme of AFES and the theme of what we can discuss today. Reaching out and supporting MSMEs is what will drive economic development in Africa, and so it's really important that we can move this topic forward. We are also, of course, acknowledging the challenges that the world in which we are is a world made of a lot of uncertainty, a lot of challenges, and these challenges are particularly relevant for smaller companies, for the informal sector, and so it is important that we bring that innovation, that this action-oriented working groups that we have, that we all contribute so that we can have a stronger session. So the first point I will make is around membership, and I already mentioned it, but I'm really very excited about the expansion of the membership of the Alliance. Since the Paris Summit, the Alliance for Entrepreneurship has welcomed 10 new associate members, which expands now our membership to 24. This growth is not just a number, of course, it's really a way of bringing in new ideas, new perspectives. The Alliance started as a DFI, a DFI type of initiative with the idea of having other partners coming in, and that second step with the new membership has really made a difference in the way we work. On terms of projects, we have also increased and expanded the portfolio of projects. The total value of the projects under the Alliance are now exceeding $6 billion, and we have new projects in the pipeline. And for those of you who are members of the Alliance and attend the plenary sessions that I chair or co-chair with the Trésor, I've always remind everybody, please bring more ideas, and I see that coming. So it's really very exciting to see that. What I find very interesting is that these ideas, and this has been, I would say, very much in the DNA of the Alliance, these ideas have to be innovative. So the idea is not to just bring projects that we would do on our daily basis without too much innovation, but really bring something new where other members of the Alliance can contribute and then support. I'll mention just one project that I'm particularly proud of that we put under the Alliance, which is the Africa Agriculture Accelerator Program, the AAAP as we call it, which is a project, an innovation that really aims at transforming Africa's agricultural landscape by leveraging data and technology. And that's really, we've started with a couple of pilots. We've been learning as we go. Some of them have not been as successful as they should, but that's how we learn. And it's interesting to take these partnerships, to bring in technology and really transform the way the agriculture is being implemented in Africa. I'm very glad that we have our Global Director for Agriculture at IFC who's here in the room with us, Wagner, and thank you for all the work that you've been doing, as well as the team on the Financial Institutions Group. I cannot see too well because there's a lot of lights, but I think my colleagues are in the room also, I know, so thanks for the work that have been done. And what is interesting there is that they are bringing in colleagues from other members of the Alliance, and that's exactly the purpose of the Alliance. I'll mention another project that I found also very interesting that has been supported by EBRD, which is the Yola Fresh. It's a start venture program, and it's here in Morocco. That's why it's quite relevant to mention it. And it's also linked to food security and the food supply chain. So I think it's a really interesting example of how different institutions can bring different types of projects within the same agenda. I mentioned earlier that I will talk a little bit about the working groups. So why did we create working groups? We felt that as we were growing the number of members in the Alliance, handling every topic through the plenaries where everybody sits around the virtual table and might be not the most efficient way. So we took 2 themes, and each of these themes, a couple of members of the Alliance took the leadership on those themes, and they gather other members in separate sessions so that the working groups, as the name says, allows to work together on getting some achievement. So I think it has been a good, interesting evolution of the governance of the Alliance. So as you know, we have two working groups that are currently functioning. One on startups and one on agriculture, and I think that's the 2 themes that where innovation is needed, and that's quite important to get there. I would mention in the working group, for instance, to see how relevant this is, that the working group has been committed to improving agricultural entrepreneurship and transforming food systems by identifying financial and non-financial methods to support the entire value chain. The group is aiming to strengthen value creation and job opportunities, particularly in underserved markets. So this is really, I think, useful way of working together. An example of the value of these working groups is has been seen as very recently there's been a Paris Invest Agricultural Forum that was attended by a good number of Alliance members. It was organized by the World Bank Group and the French Treasury, and this forum was very important for the Alliance as it really focused on agribusiness financing, addressing the need to collaborative strategies to provide integrated support to build a conducive ecosystem for African startups and high growth SMEs in the agri-sector, with an ultimate goal of shared prosperity along the agri-value chain, particularly for the farmers. So this is something that I wanted to mention because I believe it's been a very interesting evolution of the Alliance. In closing, I wanted to mention a bit what we can do looking ahead. So what we plan to do in the future of the Alliance. I mean, we want to continue refining our strategy. We want to continue also promoting this collective action. So we will thinking about developing frameworks to avoid duplication, because that's sometimes one of the points that comes out in our discussions is one institution doing something, another one is doing something that might be similar. So how can we leverage the Alliance to avoid this type of duplication? We also want to enhance collaboration and align financing and find and adopt together proven strategies in the African context so that we can support the growth of SMEs across the continent. So we have extended the initiative for another 2 years. This is, I think, a strong sign of commitment from all the members. And what we would like to see at the end of these 2 years is, one, an expansion of our portfolio. Second, an expansion of the stakeholder engagements, and I think that's part of the events like we have today. We are also working, and that's a very interesting angle, on developing what we call analytical tools, so which is really facilitating the market research, facilitating the project development. This will allow us to have more MSMEs benefit from the Alliance and be involved in what we're doing. And then the fourth and last point, the important one, is to continue expanding our membership and making sure that we integrate the membership in the Alliance in a very effective way. I have to say that the new associate members that have joined have really brought us a lot of excellent ideas, contributions. It has taken the Alliance to the next level, and I'm extremely grateful for that. So we'll continue to be the champion of the cause of entrepreneurship in Africa, particularly also woman-owned or woman-led entrepreneurship. And we want to continue on our mission. I think it's very exciting. I think the Alliance has come a long way, and I see a very bright future for the Alliance. But beyond that, a very bright future for SMEs in Africa, and that's what we are all working together for. So thank you very much. I hope today's program is going to be meeting your expectations. We have a very interesting agenda for the session. I'm sure there'll be an opportunity to exchange more, to learn from you, and for you to hear from the panelists and for the different presentations. So I wish you a very good morning, and thank you again for coming.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pimenta. Mr. Pimenta is the IFC Vice President for Africa region and also the head of the Alliance Secretariat. Moving on, I'll welcome Ms. Heike Hamgat, who is the Sub-Saharan Africa Director for EBRD. Welcome.
Good morning. It's great to be here, and also to see sort of where the Alliance has come to over such a short period of time. And I think I can only echo a lot of the words that Sergio said. It's really about coming together and strengthening each other's approaches, but also learning from each other, and really for the benefit of SMEs in Africa. I think, of course, Sergio has already mentioned Yola Fresh, a Moroccan SME that we supported, but I think one area where we really feel the Alliance has brought also more knowledge sharing and more innovation is through the working groups. And so together with the EIB, we're looking at the technology working group. And today is an enormously important event, because I feel like actually venture and agri are coming together today in this event where we're showcasing what SMEs can do in Africa for food security using technology-based solution and actually leapfrogging technology-based solutions in other continents. So Yola Fresh is a great example, connecting farmers directly to retailers, cutting out the middlemen and increasing efficiency. And in this context, actually, we work together with the University of Cambridge in helping them to automate a lot of the operations. I maybe want to just mention another couple of examples to bring some light into types of what projects we are sharing together in the Alliance and we're bringing to the table to scale, to learn from. Another one which I thought was a bit weird, is called Next Protein, and it's mainly because I'm really scared of insects. And so this is about the next source of protein. It's a Tunisian startup that is producing sustainable insect-based protein using the black soldier fly larvae, so which I thought, oh my God, this is like really gross. But it's actually the future of new sustainable proteins. And looking at their production, it was very interesting of how they used all the information on regulation that is actually covering, in particular, food-based production, and work together with a number of experts on registering, not just in the local market, but actually globally, this new source of protein. And it was really exciting to see how they got the FDA approval, how they got EU approval for this new source of protein that's very affordable, very easily digestible, and it's actually something that is very sustainable for animal feed, and actually will help a lot in the whole food value chain by introducing a new source of protein in the animal feed value chain. And I think one thing that we've also, and Sergio has talked about, it's about supporting the SMEs, but then also supporting the SMEs to raise finance. And so this is one of, I think Sergio has mentioned the big numbers, but this Next Protein Tunisian company just next door has raised now 10 million in Series A funding for their growth. So this is really something we see helping companies really go not just sort of small innovations, but massive innovations, and then actually matching them to venture funds that would help them raise Series A funding. I think there are others, but I was just so fascinated by Next Protein that the Alliance has supported. So maybe mentioning another Cropsize, an Egyptian agriculture venture company that connects stakeholders. But I think I want to end, I firmly believe that all the members of the Alliance bring their specific knowledge, their programs together, and making more than the sum of its parts. So I think I want to really echo what Sergio has said on, we want to do the opposite of duplication. We really want to sort of scale up what we're doing and bringing together like pieces of a puzzle that is actually more than all of the individual programs. And for me, it's incredibly exciting. Many of you know, I used to be, I'm still based in Cairo. I used to cover North Africa, and EBRD is moving south in the continent to 6 new countries. And so I think the Alliance, I couldn't think of a better partner than the Alliance to really help scale up our work with African SMEs across these new 6 markets and learn from each other to really support something that's tailor-made, but something that is also scalable. So very, very excited to be here listening to 2 of my favorite topics, hopefully learning more about interesting agriculture that's maybe less gross than Black Sea larvae, but equally impactful. So very, very happy to be here. We are looking forward as an institution to go south, but we know we can't do it alone, and we depend on partners, and I couldn't think of a better source than the Alliance, and I'm so happy that there are more of you here in the room and more partners that have joined up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Heike. So we are now going to go into a very informative session. I'm sure you're going to learn a lot. So let me welcome to the stage Riyad. Riyad and Mustafa, they're going to lead us through this next session. We're going to learn about the Alliance's projects. A round of applause, please. You're welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Bonjour tout le monde.
Hello, everybody.
FIG, the Finance Institution Group Advisory and Upstream Portfolio. in Northwest and Central Africa. And I'm leading, as mentioned by Sergio, with my colleague Claude, who is in the room, what we call the AAA program, the Africa Accelerator Agriculture Program. And I will be pleased today with Mustafa to make two presentations, one on what we are doing at IFC and one on Proparco initiative on farm. And then we have a panel of 50 minutes with both our two partners, Baobab Senegal and Sowit Morocco. Can we please have the slides, guys? So the AAA program started when we start thinking on how we can contribute to reduce food insecurity in Africa. And in this slide, there is a few key numbers that can give you an idea about the situation. So we all know that agriculture in Africa employs between 60 to 80% of the population. And we talk about a sector that contributes sometimes to 10. We are in Morocco, it's all about 14% of the GDP, for example. It's between 10 to 35% of the GDP. The second number is, we know that food security is a challenge already in Africa, but by 2030, we will reach 1.3 billion people, and we need to increase production by 50% to fill that gap. The third information is key that, unfortunately, despite the importance of agriculture, only, and you can see it on the highlight, only 3% of the lending is going from the banking sector to the agriculture. And the last one, which is really a characteristic of Africa, that 80% of our farmers in Africa, they are smallholder farmers, and they are producing 90% of the food production. And when we talk about 80%, we talk about millions. Again, we are in Morocco, we talk about 1.6 million farmers. Next slide, please. So here in the slide, what we did, we mapped the situation of the three main crops in Africa. We realized that the largest main three imported crops in Africa are wheat, maize, and rice. So on the left side, you can see all the positive numbers. It's what African countries import on these three. And when we talk about food security, by the way, we talk about feeding our population and we talk about feeding our animals. They are two important. So for example, you can see that Libya imports 94% of its need. Egypt, 47%. Algeria, 82%. Mauritania, 60%. DRC, 96%. And one of the exercises we did, in Africa, if you consider the continent as one, we are harvesting 67 million hectares on wheat, maize, and rice, and we are producing 155 million tons while we are consuming 240 million tons. So, and we did an exercise, that's the gap, by the way, 240 minus 155, we are importing 95 million tons. And we did an exercise, and that's, I think, the experience from where we started. We tried to simulate the productivity of the continent based on the best performance in the continent. So it's 4 tons per rice per hectare for rice, it's 6 tons per hectare per year for maize, and it's 4 tons per hectare per year for wheat. These are the best performance that we can find in the continent. You can see that South Africa is an exception in Africa. They are fully fed. What we did, and when we simulate the 67 million hectares following the best performance, we switch and we find ourselves on the right map. And you can see that many countries switch from orange or red to green. And then we started from there. And then what means that? Means that if we improve the productivity of the existing harvesting lands, following the best performance that we have actually in Africa, we can increase the production from 155 million tons to 414 million tons. And from there, we saw that there is something that we can do. Next slide, please. And the something that we can do needs to be built on the 80% of smallholder farmers. We are talking about, in Nigeria, we're talking about 80 millions. So how you can aggregate millions of farmers without leveraging technology? And we started from addressing the question how we can leverage technology to transform agriculture, and mainly to aggregate smallholder farmers in Africa. And we built this model. So, I shortened the presentation for the purpose of time. But what we did, we mapped all the agtechs, all the players that they are using technology to support agriculture. And the main focus now, it's on what we call the aggregators agtechs, or the agtech aggregators, means that the agtechs that can own the farmers and that can take care of the farmers. And we built this model. I'm using Sowit because our guest is Sowit, and because we are in Morocco, and we are working with them. Sowit is an agtech aggregators. So the model is built on these 6 pillars. Number 1 is KYCing the farmers. We know who we are dealing with. And mainly profiling the land. So by satellite image And by the drones, we can know exactly the size of the farm, and we can build the historical productivity of the last 5 years. And then input management, the quality of the seeds, the quality of the fertilizer, they are key elements to improve productivity. Then technical assistance. I remember, for example, when we started last year, the first pilot on wheat in Morocco, we started the seeding in November because it provided data to the farmers that rains will not come in October. And the simple data like this made a huge difference. And by the way, the pilot that we led in Morocco led to 3 things: increase of productivity by 30%, compared the national average of production in Morocco. We increased it, thanks to the aggregation, the cost by 20%, and we improved the income, the P&L of the farmers by 57%. So after the technical assistance, harvesting management, and it's a big deal, by the way. Sergio spoke about how painful sometimes the exercise can be. There's many countries where you don't find harvesters, you don't find irrigation equipment, so you need to have an ecosystem approach. And then access to the market. For example, back to the Morocco example, we connected the farmers for the first time, thanks to the aggregator, directly to the anchors. So all the intermediaries disappeared from the value chain, and they have access for the first time to the best price ever in Morocco. And last one is the access to finance. So all of these data will be shared by the financial institution, first to de-risk the smaller farmers. Number 2, to connect the financial institution through APIs, so they have access to the management of the calendar year. And we transform all of these data in credit scoring, so the financial institution can support and finance the farmers. So we support the agtechs, but also we feed the growth of the agtechs by giving the de-risking tools through the agtechs and the guarantees from IFC, so the agtech can grow their business, because the entire ecosystem is fed by what we are doing with the financial institution. And our guarantee will not cover only the farmers, it will cover all the supply chain, as you can see, input suppliers, mechanization, buyers, etc. Next slide, please. And this is what we are trying to do. I think building partnership between the agtech and financial institution. So every time when we have a pipeline, it's a mix of both. We need to have an agtech in front of financial institution, or a financial institution in front of an agtech, and we help them to work together. And you can see we have a first initiative that we are working on, 400 million, what we call phase 2. The needs is bigger than that. I think we are working by 2030 on a $6 billion initiative. And it's all about the main KPIs here, it's the hectares. And with the objective really to finance 5 million hectares. So we try to provide funded and funded solution for the financial institution. We try to support the agtech, we are financing. By the way, we are signing, we saw it today, a deal of $2 million. Mustafa will talk about what they are doing also on this space. So supporting the agtech, supporting the financial institution, because the agtech, they are the acquirer of the farmers. If you like to reach 5 million hectares, they are key for us. Next, please. And I think for the alliance, it's all about that. I think we need to support financial institutions through funding. We need to support the agtechs through funding, through technical assistance, through grants, and we need to take in charge all the supply chain, the buyers and the suppliers. And I believe all the idea and the main question is how together we can go to finance 5 million hectares by 2030. That can reduce food security by 40 to 50%, and why not we can go to 10 million. What is 5 million hectares? Is 2% of the harvested lands in Africa. So it's just peanuts, but can have a huge impact in the region. These could not be thought on the way without having today technology to be leveraged. So that's where we are, and I will invite my colleague Mustafa to take the lead on the farm initiative. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Mustafa Ibrahim Maloum. So I'm Deputy Regional Director for West Africa at Proparco, and also Acting Director for Nigeria. So today we'll go through actually the farm initiative. Next slide, please. Thanks, Riyad, for setting the scene on the issues we're facing on the continent and what we're trying to do all together, actually. So, and just before going through all that, just want to thank also Sergio, Frank, and all the IFC team for championing this initiative. Thanks for that. So basically, I think all of you actually here in the room knows how and why actually we're facing all these issues and why it's important to partner actually in order to provide food security and ensure actually that we can produce what we eat. So basically, I'll go through actually the FORM initiative, which is a French presidential actually initiative launched in 2022 by President Macron, actually in the context of the Ukraine, actually Russia war that we all know has disrupted actually the approvisioning chains, etc. So it was actually nice time for us to just better understand why we should do things differently actually, and just focus on how we can produce more, how we can increase actually productivity of farmers. And basically, I'm happy to see and to have this discussion with Riyad actually on what we can do together, because basically we're all having the same ideas. We, thanks to this alliance, actually also be able actually to just do things together on that. And we see that we're working with the same actors and enhancing actually what they're doing by providing actually a lot of, let's say, financing, risk-sharing facilities, technical assistance. I think the mic is better now. So basically, the idea with the FORM initiative actually is to provide support to all the value chains actually. All the actors, from €1 to 100 plus euros, million euros actually on the continent, working with both startups, working with financial institutions that provide liquidity, support to to all the actors actually. So for farmers, to actors in actually the logistics, actors in the, let's say, the transformation, all those actors. So basically, getting through some of the actors we're working with actually. So working with startups, so we know Tolbi in Senegal. We've been working, you were mentioning Complete Farmers in Ghana, Riyadh actually, like working with aggregators in order to actually reduce the number of intermediaries actually between farmers and buyers. The fact is that, as you know, so farmers are losing a lot of money actually due to all that disrupted chains. The idea is to work with all those aggregators actually to provide more of actually advisory and more funds for that actors. We work directly with startups, work also with VC funds that invest in startups actually working in the agri chain. So you might know Araf, so from Acumen Fund. So all said, on the SME side actually, so we'll have Serine Bamba also on the stage with us just in a couple of minutes from Baobab. So I'll let you present what you're doing, but they're doing wonderful work on actually financing smallholders, farmers, and also let's say transformators in the agri chain. So trying to mobilize all the banks, microfinance institutions in order to interest them actually in doing more in this space. We know that most of the banks actually currently work with, let's say, traders, don't work with producers, with actually smallholder farmers, with also corporates working on that chain. So the idea, so I will go through what we're doing differently actually, because that will be interesting. And then actually our trade finance program also is part of that. What we're trying to do actually on trade finance also, it's to, outside of oil and gas imports that are important for the continent as well. We know we're trying to focus actually on where we can bring additional value, and specifically in ports actually of, let's say, having a short-term vision, because all of that cannot be done actually in 2 days. So basically we need to have short-term solutions and longer-term solutions. Working on production, etc. It's mid-long-term productions. Small-term actually, short-term solution will be trade finance on our side in facilitating import of, let's say, the most needed crops, most needed food actually. So basically we've been championing this trade finance program on the continent, actually trying to work specifically, first of all, on the most, let's say, frontier markets, Liberia, Malawi, not Malawi, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, etc. So basically, that's what we're trying to do. So working with Mauritanian banks, Liberian banks, etc. And then still working actually on the most, let's say, important transformator producers in the continent. You were mentioning Jolax, for example, here in Sierra Leone, which is actually one of the projects we're really happy in having done this year. It's the actually palm oil transformator. And what we're trying to do differently also is we, as GFI, always been really interested in doing more capex financing, but most of these actors actually like have sometimes actually capacities to transform, but don't have the liquidity or the working capital actually to buy what they need to transform. So basically, with Jolax, we've been able actually to provide working capital facility in order to help them do more, transform more, and actually bring that product. So now we'll tell me what's new actually on what you're saying, Mustafa. So at Proporco, actually, what we're trying to do is to have an integrated approach, so financing all the actors in the value chain. Also, in order to do that, additionally to actually bringing support, like financial support, trying to mobilize also all the actors we're working with. So basically, let's say, put in touch our clients on the AgTech side with microfinance institutions, see how they can partner actually to do more. Also working with different, let's say, corporates. The one was working, actually, I was mentioning the project in Sierra Leone with Jolax, actually working also with another, let's say, one of the biggest producer of actually palm in West Africa. So helping them to contractualize actually something and be able for the Sierra Leone's company to buy actually input from our other clients in Côte d'Ivoire. And then what's necessary also, you were mentioning that, Riyad, it's the training. Actually train farmers to sustainable practices, train banks in how to understand agri value chain, et cetera, et cetera. So this is something we will discuss actually with Baobab also later. And last but not least, actually, to do all that, we need to think differently also. We need to think definitely differently from what we used to do, so actually be more risk taker. That's the key, actually. So we at Proporco reviewed our risk appetite framework in order to be able to do that kind of initiative. So targeting more fragile actors and also helping them becoming actually regional, national first, but regional and Pan-African champion. Trying to look at new geographies. For example, like 2 years ago, we never had a transaction in Sierra Leone, let's say. One transaction in Liberia. So with that farm initiative also, it allows us and actually engage us to go on more frontier markets. So basically, we've been financing like more than 1.5 billion actually the past years, and now we're trying to do, actually this year we'll be doing 200 million in the continent on that specific initiative, and trying to do more and more and more years over year. So thanks for your attention, and I will actually invite Sowit CEO, co-founder, and also Baobab Senegal Deputy CEO, Serigne Bamba, also with us on stage, please. Thank you. Ça va? Ça va, super. Super. Ça va, tu as face. Nickel.
Thank you, Mustafa. So we are really very glad to have two important players on this agri journey. So I will start by Hamza. Hamza is a very young, talented guy. You know, they created Hamza and Hamza. His half Hamza is here in the room. So they created Sowit a few years ago. Hamza, I highlighted a lot the relevance of the technology, and without technology today, I don't think that we can think about the aggregation of millions of farmers. So in your view, how does the AgTech use technology to facilitate financing for smaller farmers, and what role does AgTech play in this process, please?
Thank you, Riyad, for the invitation. Thank you for the question. I'll just put a bit the background context of what the AgTech is doing. Here in Morocco, when we're supporting cereal farmers, our cereal farmers produce 2 tons per hectare, where the cereal farmers in India produce 4 to 5 tons, and in France, 6 to 7 tons. Sometimes the cereal farmers in Spain produce 3 to 4 tons in very similar weather and soil conditions. It means that we have a productivity issue in Africa, in Morocco, regarding crops that are very strategic, regarding farmers that rely on this crop for their subsistence. This productivity issue, when we analyze the situation of the farmers, we have four main elements. The first is access to quality seeds and inputs, fertilizer, seeds, in order for them to get good productivity. The second is access to machinery, because it will help improve efficiency on the ground. The third is access to expertise and information. As Riyad said, if the farmer does not know what is the rain pattern currently, it's very hard to decide on sowing or not this year. And the fourth, which is also very important, is actually access to financing. This access to financing is the most important. In a certain sense, it's the master bottleneck, because without financing, there is no way you could unlock any of the others: expertise, information, machinery, seeds. And if you're not able to unlock any of the others, you're not able to unlock the productivity challenge, meaning being able to upgrade the African farmer, upgrading the practices, the crop management, in order for this farmer to reach its full potential. Moreover, in Morocco especially, we are very exposed to climate change. It could be the fifth factor, which is this underlying structural trend. And according to research, according to the FAO, to the Environmental Research Journal, the climate change in Africa, and especially in North Africa, will impact wheat and maize yields by up to 20%. It means not only we will need to get to a very high productivity to address the 2030 challenge of 1.3 billion people to feed, but it means the current pressure is yields declining, not yields stagnating, which is even worse, and which in a certain way impose to have the necessary tools in order to unlock the productivity of the farmer. The role of the AgTech is actually to be able to focus on all these elements in order to be able to upgrade the crop management of any African farmer, that thanks to finance would unlock all the other bottlenecks: expertise, machinery, information, access to seed and inputs, in order to be able to perform better. But even more than focusing on the AgTech alone, the role of the AgTech is to integrate the farmer within its value chain, to enable the farmer to seize all existing opportunities from the supply sides in order to access best possible inputs and seed at most affordable price, but also for the offtake price, because our farmers last year did access prices that were 20% higher than prices on the market, simply because we knew the quality of what they were producing in terms of protein content, in terms of dry matter, and because we connected them to leading industrial agribusinesses without having to go through the intermediaries. So the bottom line is that the role of the AgTech is to unlock the productivity of the farmers by unlocking bottleneck by bottleneck, and by relying on finance as the master bottleneck to be unlocked in order to enable this change.
Thank you, Hamza, Mustafa, and one question to Baobab.
Bonjour Bamba. Merci.
So thank you for being with us today. You are now leading the microfinance Baobab in Senegal, which is very active, which is a lot more active on agricultural fronts beyond agriculture. Today, what's interesting is for us, it's actually food security. So everything that's got to do with local consumption of food produce. So this is a motto in Senegal to accompany development these activities through Baobab. Can you tell us a bit more about this and how you support these producers to improve their productivity and also the agricultural practices? Okay, thank you, Mustafa, for this question. Baobab is a microfinance group. So we finance entrepreneurs that do not really have access to the classic funds. So we have 2 billion euros, and it's actually concentrated on the analysis of the local market. We realized that agriculture could become an important lever, because we have a lot of farmers that do not have access to finance and money. So finance is capital. So like I said, so today we are in the embryo stage. We accompany them with everything that's got to do with working capital, but also financial literacy or education is important. We try to help them to have access to water, finance them to have access to water to reduce their production cost, but also improve the yield. So today they have partners that accompany them to actually replenish the soil. So it is important to organize the value chain even before the production gets to the market. We should actually find people to buy, or it's important to actually have the cultural calendar. So when it comes to quality seedlings, but also integrating the different risks that are getting more and more present, especially with climate change. Now we have post-culture losses, transformation, post-harvest preservation. That is what we've not been able to actually address. But we are a lot more thinking on agriculture, which is really important for Baobab.
Look, as part of the Alliance platforms, I think one of the good example on complementarity, because today we have Hamza and Sowit in Morocco with us. But for example, in Ghana, we are trying to work with two architects, Farmer Line and Complete Farmers. And Complete Farmers is already supported directly by financing from Proparco. And what we are trying to do is to bring Complete Farmer to this ecosystem approach. And the program is really, when we build, the way on how we are delivering this program is to integrate, let's say, the IFC pitch book with Sowit pitch book. So we go together to the banks to present the model as what we call the AgTech model, so we can really bring the bank on these ecosystems. And that's why my next question, Hamza, because the way on how we present to the bank, we are building it based on two things. Technology is transparency. But also through the data, we are trying to de-risk the smaller farmers for the financial institutions. So we are asking really the banks to take directly the risk on the farmer, which is a very risky exercise. So how you believe that the AgTechs, why we believe both that the AgTechs can really de-risk smaller farmers for financial institutions, including Baobab?
Actually, when we focus on productivity and when we consider that financing is the main instrument in unlocking the potential of the farmers, farm de-risking starts being the objective in instance that de-risking financing any farmer in Africa. And to achieve such de-risking from a financial institution perspective, we actually acted on 4 pillars internally that enabled any financing institution in Morocco at least to feel safe when considering an agricultural opportunity. The first was actually to enhance the credit scoring capability of the financial institution by providing, thanks to satellite imagery, thanks to all the data we collected along the way, additional data around the activity of the farmer, around the plot, because at the end of the day, the activity is a plot that would generate a certain yield. And it's very important to provide financial institutions with data that is straightforward, clear, easy to understand for them, simply to understand if this person is able to pay back based on the historical performance. The second aspect of de-risking is contractual. We contractualize every single component of the value chain before even sowing the first seed. It means that everything is predictable from day one. The price of any input, the price the farmer they're going to sell with, how we're going to deliver it, the insurance, the coverage, everything is clear from day one. It means there is very limited uncertainty around playing this season, and for the bank it's very important. The third aspect is being able to secure the most critical operations, mainly harvest, which is an operation that is critical when you go to a farmer. Of course, he's reimbursing and paying back based on the production, and there is always this very hard moment. Whatever the relationship you build with the farmer, the moment you're going to take part of the production to reimburse. And we worked a lot on this very specific event. Our harvesters harvest directly in the truck of the off-taker. There are no bags involved, no possibility to store. It means that from the plot to the truck, directly the off-taker is then reimbursing the bank without cash getting in the pocket of the farmer. And this notion is very important. Cash does not need to get in the pocket of the farmer. Farmer needs to be delivered in kind. They need to pay with their production. Otherwise, you create a lot of friction all along the process. And there is a final element that is also very important to bank is to be able to comply with all their existing processes. KYC, reportings, providing a system, our operating system is a system that enables the banks to get a live view on the P&L of the farmer. This is live finance management. By the time the fertilizer is delivered, by the time the money associated, the amount to the fertilizer is deducted, by the time the banks know that this amount has been consumed by the farmer. And by the time our agents on the ground validate the operation has really been done, then we can disburse the second amount that we serve, for example, for another product. It means that every single penny is managed on a daily basis with very high precision. And for the bank, as we got multiple exchanges for them, that's why IFC was instrumental for us with an AgTech background and productivity and farmer obsession DNA to kind of change away the way we think in order to be able to increase productivity while de-risking financing for the bank.
Thank you, thank you, Hamza. And one of the important exercises I think that we are doing is to provide technical assistance to the entire ecosystem. You know, AgTech's aggregators, it's not only about agronomy. If I give you an example, for example, Babanguna, with whom we are working on the maize in Nigeria, they have 100,000 farmers. They distribute during the maize calendar agricultures more than 150,000 tons of inputs, and that is really logistical expertise. So it's not only about agronomy, and that's why managing the supply chain is part of the add value. And one of the main components that we made it mandatory, and you know, Wagner and Raj, they are here. When we spoke about the first investment, it's key how to transform, how to help finance institutions to transform all of these data in creditworthiness or credit scoring that help the scale up. Because it's easy to do 3,000 hectares, but if you like to go to 5 million, then we need to make things more programmatic and systematic. Please.
Merci Hamza, c'était très inspirant.
Thank you. This is very inspiring. You know, we're talking about partnerships with the different stakeholders that we can see in the zone and on the continent. Lambda. Baobab is a committed company, but it's not an NGO, so of course. So when we talk about these topics, we have this commitment to help the continent, but we must be profitable. And it's important to mention, I would like to remind you of a discussion we had a few weeks ago where you said that finance is not the most important element. The interest is there, and when there's the interest, and they just need the finance to achieve their objectives. So can you tell us in detail the kind of partnership that you developed that allows you to develop this particular activity? So, like Hamza was saying, how can the work you do with AgTech allow you to sort of like, say, deal with risks and also help your farmer clients? Thank you. I think that adapted data is capital today to actually reduce agri-risk. So major in Senegal, you know, we are accompanied in data collection, so it allows us to know the different areas that are farmed and also have a farming calendar. At what time you should actually put any seedlings in the ground or any fertilizers or actually entrants. So here everything is based on the activities of our clients, but that's not everything, because Senegal is still an embryo stage industry. Not everything is covered. Today, we only have a zone that is covered by these partners. We also have the question of cost, the cost of services. Like you said, Baobab is a lot more so proactive. We try to be impulsive. We try to be innovative. Today, we've been able to have a green, sustainable bond. So even beyond the classic activity, we have the objective of having sustainable development. So we are not just there to provide finances, but we want to support our clients, accompany them on financial education, on how to better manage their activities. and also consolidate their capacity to be able to pay back, because there's finance, but there's everything that's got to do with support that is not financial. We have technical assistance. Today, we have actually recruited an agri-engineer to accompany our clients. We have partnerships with a structure, an agricultural structure, that allows us to actually reduce soil acidity. So we trying to accompany our clients beyond the conventional banking activity we do. We actually give them value-added services. Thank you.
Look, we can spend another hour talking about all of this. Let's go back to the floor. I think we have 10 minutes open discussion. So please do not hesitate to ask us and our guests questions. The floor is yours. Colin, who can help us with the logistics in the room?
Any questions? Okay. All right.
Hi, Wendy Teleki. I'll throw a question out here. I run the Women Entrepreneurs Finance Initiative, and I know we've had some conversations with Riyadh about how to make sure you're really intentionally including women and the issues that women need to address. So I'm wondering, how are you doing that in this program?
Thank you, Wendy. Very good question. You know, if you take what we are doing, for example, with Babanguna in North Nigeria, Babanguna is similar to Soweto model with more years of experience. So they have a portfolio of 100,000 farmers in north of Nigeria. They are increasing the productivity of the farmers by 2.5 times, better than the national average. That led to two things. When you increase productivity, you increase the incomes. Now, the farmers in North Nigeria, they don't only send their boys to schools, they send both boys and girls. Because before it was only sending as a priority the boys, and then if they can, they make it for the girls. So I think that is very important for the entire North Nigeria, but also we know that 35% of the farmers, they are women in the portfolio of Babanguna. So it depends on the country, on the jurisdiction, the impact is different. In Morocco, it's a different story, but maybe Hamza can give us some insights, and also the team on the women portfolio in the wheat, or in your 24,000 farmer in general.
Regarding actually the aggregation activity, so the financial partner we work with, Crédit du Maroc and also Amana Microfinance, had also these objectives of making the product much more inclusive to women. And for example, even the risk departments of these financial institutions, when considering opportunities of women requiring to be financed, were really, I would say, much more willing to consider the documentation. You know, the land ownership is complicated, so willing really to consider the different situations in order to help. For example, the Amana Microfinance accepted to consider that land ownership is not a necessary document, but that we could work with other documents, because there is an issue with women having access to land ownership and showing they could benefit. That's first. The second aspect we also had with women is that from the first year we started operations, we kind of capitalized on women that were entrepreneurial and farming, and we have very emblematic women in the different regions we work with, and that actually kind of serve as model for others to join the community, especially that even one of them in the Gharb region has led and built a school enabling other women, but not only women, to kind of learn the best practices in terms of agriculture, which actually help us more spreading the word around women being active in the wheat industry. Even though in the wheat industry in Morocco, it's a majority of men farming, and this is related to many, I would say, challenges we still have in Morocco, but it's moving forward very fast, especially in the region we work in, with land ownership advancing very fast. So lands that were previously belonging to the communities or to different kind of collective entities are now being processed into proper land ownership with equal access to this land for women and men, which will, on the long run, change significantly the landscape of the industry in Morocco.
Thank you, Hamza. Please.
Bonjour. Salma.
Hello, Salma Tazi, Bank of Africa. 2 questions. First, from your experience, is the bank universally understand what they do, or it's actually the specialized agricultural banks that understand what you do? Thank you. In reality, the model is new for everybody. We learn by doing. I think that after 2 years of experience, we in microfinance, we are a lot more agile with regard, and the banks are a lot more comfortable when it comes to fields of over 20 hectares, etc. So this is a new exercise, and I think we learn a lot with regards to what we do with commercial banks. What is important for me is to master the environment and the country infrastructure. We have countries where there is infrastructure where you should not dissociate the equipment. You should not maybe think about the availability of seeds or the availability of fertilizer, whereas in other jurisdictions, all of these are not available. So you should think about all these before actually engaging to ensure that we have the seeds, fertilizer, etc. It's the complexity of the jurisdiction and also to adapt this. So that is what we are trying to do together. We have a good experience with Baywa, and we're going to continue working together. I think we are actually building this. That is why we're starting small. So, for example, Morocco, we started 500 hectares, then we go to 6,000 hectares, and we hope to get to 73,000 hectares by 2028. So we master the environment. That's an important factor. So also climate change cannot be mastered. That is why we have insurance. So this covers about 1.6 million hectares. So that is why the exercise is less difficult. So thank you. Second question is that we saw in your flyer that you're looking for an alliance to have more partners to add to the members and the financial institutions. So with regards to what you say in each country, are you going to privilege agriculturally specialized banks? Or are you going to take into consideration the environment, or are you going to actually propose this to everybody? With regards to what I collected as data,
Do we work with specialized agri-banks, or shall we work with the entire finance sector? When you see the data, for example, Le Crédit Agricole du Maroc, which is one of the best agricultural banks in the continent, the numbers of farmers in the portfolio is only 100,000 farmers. While on the wheat sector only, we are talking about 1.6 million farmers. So one bank cannot resolve this problem. We need specialized banks for many reasons, but I think the idea is really to onboard the banks having the appetite. And when we engage with all our partners. We talk in every market to all the players that we are working with no exceptions. And then based on the appetite, there is a lot of homework, for example. To onboard the bank now, it's between 8 to 9 months of work before we start the calendar years, which is not easy because when you talk about agri, if the wheat season will start in October, you need to be ready in October. You cannot be ready when you think you are going to be ready. But there's no exclusion. I think, again, based on the experience, Baobab and Alamena and the Tawfiq, they are very good and flexible for the very small farmers, 2 hectares and less. And that's the reality of the majority of the farmers. You know, in Nigeria, the average hectare per farmer is 0.8 hectares. And the beauty is that all of this is relevant if you make farming commercially viable. You know, in Thailand, the unemployment rate is 0.8%, thanks to a commercially viable approach for the agriculture sectors. Thank you. We have
Unfortunately, that's all the questions we can take for this session. Warm round of applause to our panelists, please. Yeah, we will have time to take another question at the end of the next session. Kindly bear with us. Our time is running out for us. So another warm round of applause for our panelists. I'll just welcome the next panel, please. All right. Our next session is going to be on health SMEs. So I'll welcome Skanda and Aisha for this session. Thank you.
Thank you. So my name is Skander Slati from Africa Invest. I'm here with my business partner, Aisha Zakrawi. Firstly, I think most of you know Africa Invest. We're a multi-asset manager that has been around for over 30 years now. And we're we're delighted to have the opportunity today to present a new initiative that we launched in partnership with two alliance members, namely the IFC and the Proparco. And this fund actually, maybe if we can turn to the presentation, this fund is meant to address a gap in the market. The innovative structure that we put in place has allowed us actually to address a gap, because most instruments that are available in the market are able to cater to the upper tier of health delivery, so private hospitals, private clinics, but what's difficult is to address the bottom of the pyramid. And basically we were able to bring together the whole ecosystem, so foundations, corporates, DFIs, and private institutions to contribute to a blended structure that allows us to deliver high impact, basically, and finance MSMEs in the healthcare space, while delivering a reasonable return to the commercial investors and actually preserving the capital of the catalytic investors. This blended capital structure was put in place precisely to be able to offer actually a debt instrument that is affordable to the MSMEs that we are lending to in the healthcare space. In developing this fund, we partnered with the Health Finance Coalition out of the US. And so this is a JV that we established with them. Actually, we have developed also a very detailed impact matrix, and Aisha will tell us a little bit more about that later on, that measures the impact of every healthcare opportunity that we present to this fund. And so any opportunity that doesn't fit a minimum level of impact is automatically rejected by this fund. So the impact thesis is very high on the agenda of this fund, and we're able to deliver funding to these companies thanks to the blended structure. We provide tailored financial instruments, and our investment thesis focusing on enhancing access to primary healthcare, and also supporting replicable businesses that are supported by entrepreneurs. We also obviously leverage our hands-on approach thanks to our local presence in the 8 African countries in the continent. And so proximity is very key, and we give priority actually to the businesses that are close to the offices where we are present. If we can turn to the next page, please. Yeah, so this shows the positioning of this fund. So we're filling a gap because there are many PE VC funds that address the upper middle income side of the market of the healthcare space. We are focusing on the low to middle income. And in terms of stage of development, we focus on the growth segment, but these remain small and vulnerable companies, if I may say. We can move to the next slide. Here, why debt? The reason why we chose to go with the debt instrument is because of the size of the companies. So we are lending to companies that on average have like $4 to $10 million of revenues, and these companies will be difficult actually to exit from if we invested into an equity, if we invested in an equity instrument. So a self-liquidating instrument is very important for these type of companies. Also, these companies have a difficulty in accessing debt from the commercial banks, and I'll give you some examples. There is a very innovative model that we backed actually in East Africa, which is a network of dialysis centers. This network of dialysis centers leverages existing state-owned infrastructure through a PPP model, so they don't own the brick and mortar infrastructure in which they operate. So they upgrade these facilities and they just bring the equipment and operate from these centers. It's a very basically low capital investment, because actually then it's not capital intensive because they don't have to invest in brick and mortar. And so local banks do not have a physical infrastructure to get as a security, and it's difficult for them to access financing. So we provided them with financing to expand their network and expand the presence on the ground in different countries in East Africa. And they provide essential healthcare that actually is vital to the kidney cases that we have and for the dialysis patients. Also, addressing the most vulnerable remains a critical gap in this segment, and we're able to address it through this structure. One important feature of this fund is that what distinguishes it also from other funds is that we set up what we call a deal construction facility together with the Health Finance Coalition, and this deal construction allows us to actually for business models that are not yet bankable, to take them to the deal construction team to make them bankable, or if the impact thesis is not strong enough, to review the business model to enhance their impact thesis. And so that allows us to really prepare the pipeline for this fund. And to date, actually, we've made three investments through this fund. We can move to the next slide. So these are the three verticals that we focus on. Supply chain transformation, which is critical in the African continent. And here I can mention an interesting business model in West Africa, actually a pharma company that doesn't own infrastructure, because they register drugs in West Africa, they manufacture in Asia, they distribute through distribution partners, and that allows them to offer very competitively priced pharma products in Francophone West Africa, thanks to a very efficient supply chain model. The innovative care delivery models, I think I mentioned the innovative PPP that was established in East Africa for the dialysis centers. And digital innovation, I'll give you an example. In South Africa, there is a very innovative model of primary healthcare supply. So it's actually a technological model that uses triage to reduce the cost of primary healthcare delivery. So before you go to a doctor or before you go to a hospital, you have actually a WhatsApp feature that they ask you a few questions to determine the level of basically the type of disease that you have or the type of condition that you have, and then they steer you towards a nurse or a nurse practitioner or a hospital or a doctor. And that allows them to reduce the cost of delivering the service and being able to offer a cover as low as $8 to $9 per month for the bottom of the pyramid. Next, please. And here, I mean, we wanted to highlight also that we have value creation strategies for each one of the verticals that I just mentioned, be it on the innovative care delivery or the supply chain, and even on the innovative models, the tech-enabled innovative models. Next, because actually the impact thesis of this fund is extremely important, I'd like my partner Aisha to highlight a few concrete examples where actually we developed a tool called the multiple of impact that allows us to even measure the impact that is delivered by the investees that we support through this fund. Aisha?
Hi everyone, happy to be with you all today. So as Skander said, I mean, for this fund really impact, it's part and parcel of the fund architecture. So what you have done, and we presented it to some of you, we have developed this methodology with Bridgespan named the multiple of impact. So the idea here was really to move from output, number of patients, to the outcome. How are we really improving the health outcome of these people? So one of the methodology we came up with was with this multiple of impact to monetize really the social and environmental value we're bringing in using research and evidence. And here I think what is important is we have come up with a methodology that now have almost the same weight as expected RR. So at the IC phase now we are bringing, okay, for this investment, this is the projected RR, but this is also the projected multiple of impact. And maybe I will use a concrete example from one of our portfolio company where we also invested with Proparco to show you how it works. So on the first, so the way it works, so for LaPaire, it's a network of 55 affordable optical shops across West and East Africa. They provide among the lowest price eyeglasses. So in the 7 countries of operation, that the lowest cost company with NGO, and the 2 other countries that are among the 2 lowest cost company. And they also, and this is very key, they also provide free eye exam. As you know, in Africa, we have 549 million people that need eyeglasses, that have vision impairment, but only 1.3 million have access to eyeglasses. And one of the hurdles of this is because this is priced as a very on the high end. So LaPaire, they're really targeting the low to middle income population. They're setting shops in urban area, low neighborhood, very dense, to really be able to access these people and provide them with, I mean, as anyone who has a pair of glasses, you know how life changing can be a pair of glasses, but most importantly, they also screen for glaucoma, for a condition that can evolve into blindness. So the way we've worked here is really we have looked at the number of customers that are reached by LaPaire, both free eyeglasses, but also how many are buying free eye test, and how many are buying eyeglasses. And then we looked at research study. As you know, when you have vision impairment, when you have glaucoma, this has a disability weight assigned by the WHO. So using this scientific data, we estimate what is the disability as just a life years that is averted from the service provided by LaPaire. So this is how we came up with what we call a value of statistical life years avoided. And this, and this is where the rigor comes in, we assign a probability of impact. So with this fund, we are not content enough to say, okay, I invest into a healthcare company, it's an impact company. No, no, no. We're really peeling back the layer to see how the outcome, how is this company improving affordability, how improving health outcome. And on this, if we are not, let's say, content enough with the research, with the evidence that we have, we will discount the risk factor. So here, for example, as you can see, we assign 80% of probability for impact realization. And of course, as you have better data, as you have better research, the score will be increased. So here, maybe, as you can see, we have 3 pathways. We are not only looking at the positive, we are looking also at the negative. So we have also the quality job. When it comes to quality job, we are not content enough again to say, okay, we are creating X number of jobs. No, how are really improving the quality of this job? So we look at the difference between the salary paid by LaPaire to its employee versus the average earning by ILO stats. So here we look at the average earning for the sectors and the type of job and the country. Plus, we look at all the benefits that the company provides. So this could be health insurance, this could be pension plan. All of this is being factored into, and if the company does provide it, it will be added as part of the quality job. Then, for the third pathway, here we look at the environmental impact. As you know, to produce eyewear, we do need plastic, we do need metal. So we went to the point of either looking at the environmental impact of the company and deducting this negative impact. Then on terminal value, here this is the financial equivalent of terminal value. So the way it works, at African Invest, usually we stay with company for 5-7 years, but our impact go well beyond our exit. So this is what is factored into the terminal value. When we get this total risk-adjusted impact, we divide it by what's the value of the company, how much capital do I need to generate this impact, and here we find this amazing figures where we expect that for $1 invested into La Paire, we are generating $109 of social value. And maybe it's important to mention that we have for the first year, the data have already proven because we invested last year. So we are sure that for 1 year, we are really on track to get to this figure. So maybe for the next slide, here, as a call for action, if you can say, so we do believe that to really scale African MSME, we can sum it up into 5 P. The first P is about partnership. And here, to scale all of this capital, we do need partnership. I think the Alliance is the epitome of it. Skander, what you presented with the Transform Health Fund is a case studies of partnership between private investors, as African Invest, our DFI, the non-profit company that we are with for the JV, and we do believe that this partnership is really what can bring us to the impact we want to create. Then for the second P is platform, and here platform is really to move from individual investment to platform-based investment to drive further efficiency, further diversification, sorry, my French, and scale. Then on the third P, it's about proof. So the proof, we do need data. The MOI is one example of it. So the MOI is really bringing this rigor to show the impact that we are creating, that we can create. But also, more importantly, we do believe that when it comes to blended finance, impact investing, we do need to share more our track record. How are we doing, financially speaking? We need to provide the financial ratio so it can bring maybe more transparency and more comfort to all the investors to get into this field and bring more capital to African MSME. For the fourth P, which is about policy here, it's about standardizing both the impact measurement and management, and Sergio mentioned it earlier at the beginning, whereby we do need standardized way to measure impact. It's very difficult to have this, what we call alphabet soup of acronym. Anyone has his own proprietary way of measuring impact. We do need kind of a level playing field, something that everyone can use, that would allow apple-to-apple comparison, and that's why the MOI, we're putting it open source. It's not at all something that is only for African Invest, so we are sharing it with all GP, LP, SME. Anyone can have access to it. We're providing training. We have developed some video, and we are envisioning a new phase with Britspan to train more GP that have expressed interest in using the MOI. Then for the fifth P here, it's about practitioner. Scaling MSME does require expertise. This is not an easy business. We need people who are expert in blended finance, who are expert in structuring financial products, who are expert in measuring impact. So we do believe with the power of the Alliance, we can really gather all of these people to really share knowledge, to have training, and to really further increase African MSME impact. Thank you.
Maybe I just can add one thing. I mean, so we're filling part of the gap, but there is a gap that remains there because some shortcomings that we're seeing is that we're not able to offer local currency financing, and that's a big shortcoming. And there is another aspect also, which is in our case, in the case of the Transform Health Fund, we have a blended structure, yes, but actually more TA can be helpful to support actually some of these MSMEs that we lend to, because some of them have some gaps, and having access to technical assistance. So for the members of the Alliance, if we can leverage actually some additional technical assistance for the investees, as well as finding local currency financing solutions, this will enhance even further the impact of this fund. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Mexi. Warm round of applause to them again for that wonderful informative session. And I don't know if there's any question for them. or should I start you off with one question? So it's a very wonderful presentation, very informative. So I'm sure you know about the challenges that the health sector faces in Africa specifically. I come from East Africa, and the challenges I know are different from country to country. But what can you tell us about the impact of the very low penetration of health insurance to the companies that work in this space? Perhaps how this kind of financing, accessing financing for the companies, and also how financing from this alliance and the companies, the partners in this alliance can help boost that problem, can help boost that, solve that challenge for Africa.
I think one solution is lowering the cost of the healthcare delivery. That's very, so basically with $100, you deliver quality healthcare services to a larger number of patients rather than a small one. And so we're doing this in several instances. In the case of the dialysis centers that I mentioned, I mean, they basically optimized the supply chain to reduce the cost of healthcare delivery. You know, in Kenya, the NIHF covers only 2 dialysis sessions per week, only 2. And we do 3 for the cost of 2. That's impact. That's what we're doing. So that's one aspect on how we can improve access, because we operate within constraints. And so what we can deliver is quality services at the lowest possible price point, and we contribute to that through this blended structure and affordable patient financing basically.
Thank you so much. Any question for the panel, please? Anyone? If there are no questions, it means they were very clear. Yes, they were clear. Thank you so much. One round of applause for them again. All right, so I understand someone who had a question for the agri session. I believe they're still here. The previous session? Okay. Okay. No, they left. All right, so I'll just invite Mr. Pimenta to give us some closing remarks. No, not yet? Sorry. All right, just a minute. All right, sorry for that confusion. Let me just invite back the panelists, all of them back to the stage, please. If they're still here, please come back to the stage. Then we are going to have a very wonderful interactive open session. Please come back to the stage. A warm round of applause for all our panelists. Riyadh. Mustafa? Oh, he's left. It's okay. We'll give you each a chance to say something, and then we'll get a question from the audience, if you have any questions. Should he just use the microphone? Yes, and give us some remarks.
Okay, thank you. No, I think it's been a very interactive session. I really like the fact how the 2 topics of technology and agribusiness were coming together, but also to looking at innovative funding that we just heard from Africa Invest. So looking at how sectors that find it difficult to access the regular, even venture equity funding, will, through partners of the Alliance, find also ways of accessing more appropriate funding that has a lot of impact. So I think, so as EBRD, I think, you know, I learned a lot from the different, both entrepreneurs, but also funding innovations. And I think that's exactly at the heart of what we want to do as different partners to the Alliance, that we bring entrepreneurs, their ideas, funders, and their ideas together. And I think also, Skanda, I also really liked that, you know, there's room for doing more. There's room for, okay, so we, you know, now we don't have access to local currency. So I think that's a challenge, I guess, for Sergio and me to see, is there something that as DFI we can bring to the table, or we need still to have more technical assistance to help the low-income beneficiaries in the healthcare sector? Is that something we can jointly mobilize some of our donors? So I think it's great also to see what's next. So where can we go from here? So I'm very happy to be here, to have been part of the Alliance as EBRD, and I think it's another step towards, you know, supporting MSMEs across the continent. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, firstly, I want to thank the Alliance headed by Sergio for this opportunity for us to present the Transform Health Fund. But what I wanted to add is that we're looking forward, as mentioned by Henki, so not only what we can do together as members of the Alliance, but also how can we replicate successful models. So we believe that from the first feedback that we're getting from the market and the first 3 investments that we've made through Transform Health Fund, that it's a very successful model, and we would like to replicate this in the climate space. And so we're working on a new initiative in this space with following the same structure. And here, so we would welcome actually, obviously, the support of the Alliance members in helping us put together a similar structure in the climate space. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really, we are really happy to be part of the Alliance. We've learned so much since we've been attending the session a few months ago. I mean, I think I cannot reiterate enough that, I mean, there is so much to do. We're happy. I think it's really, we're just scratching the surface of what we can do together, be it to improve the impact measurement and mostly the management, because we believe with better measurement, we can better manage our company with innovative financing mechanism. I mean, I think this is a really only the beginning. We'll be happy to share with you all the methodology that were present, really learning from all of you to drive meaningful and measurable sustainable change.
Thank you very much, the 3 of you and the other panelists, and thanks Vincent for its great moderation of the session. And I really want to thank everybody for being here. The AFIS is an opportunity for a lot of meetings, a lot of networks, so there's a lot of, I would say, competition events out there, and I'm very glad that you stay in the room with us and that you listen to and participate in the session this morning. I mean, for me, I really found the session, this event, very useful in terms of summarizing a number of the initiatives that are going on. I think we all learned. I have even learned that Heike doesn't like to eat insects, but that's fine. We learn something every day. But innovation is important, even in the diet. So it's something that we need all to try. But I also thought that, and I'm very grateful for Africa Invest for being here and for the presentation. This is a very concrete example on how our associate members have been adding so much value to what we're doing, and how you are able to leverage our platform to reach some of the goals that you might have as an institution yourself. So that's, for me, the strength of a platform like this one. It's been a journey, and it's been an interesting journey of evolution of how the Alliance can have more impact. I am strongly convinced that entrepreneurship is at the core of development, and this is something that we need to support. I also am convinced that it's probably one of the toughest areas for DFIs, for partners, for different players in the ecosystem to support. So being together and sharing experiences, sharing what works, what doesn't work, what we learn, how we can improve is extremely important. So I'm very glad that we could have this session. So I really thank you again. I was supposed to say the last words, but Riyad is now with us. So Riyad, any final thoughts from your side?
Thank you, Sergio. Look, we were talking about technology for agriculture, but also we are leveraging technology for insurance. And technology is something that needs to be integrated in all our value proposition. So for agriculture, food security is key for the continent. As you can see, I think one of the things that I missed to say is by 2030, many crops, global production will not be enough to feed the global population. And I think increasing the productivity, it's key to handle this. You know, one of the beauty of what we are doing, Sergio, is that, for example, in Morocco, what we started with SOET and with Alamana as a 500-hectare pilot became a national almost initiative. So we are doing now lots of work with the Central Bank of Morocco because this is not about one bank, one ACTEC. We need several ACTECs, and one of the idea is to create an incubator with Tamwilcom, which is one of the guarantee fund, is an excellent guarantee fund, which is a very good prerequisite for the development of access to finance for SMEs, by the way, in Morocco. And we try to create an incubator to have more than SOET in Morocco because we need 10, 20, 1.6 million hectares require lots of forces. And also we are trying to engage not only with the financial sector, but also with the Tamwilcom. And again, I think leveraging technology, like I said, now it's relevant in our topic for agriculture, but it's something that we are trying to leverage for all our value proposition. We need the alliance support. You know, for AgTechs only, we need $70 million of financing. We need $30 million of technical assistance and grants. That's why I really appreciate this platform and this initiative. I think we need to sit together and see with Proparco. We are already trying to create synergy on the AgTech they are supporting so we can bring them to the institution. But we really need to build this together because, like I said, 5 million hectares. By 2030, it's less than 2% of the harvested lands. So we count on your support, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we'll take just one or two questions. But Mr. Pimenta, could you answer this for me as we're going to take a question from the audience? So there's a proverb here in Africa that says, if you give me fish for a day, you'll feed me for a day. But if you teach me how to fish, feed me for a lifetime. And I think that is one of the challenges that you've spoken about, the challenge of accessing local currency financing. So yes, the Alliance, as you said, is just not about financing, but it's about developing long-term solutions. And in the end, we want African SMEs to be able to raise financing from within Africa, from organizations within Africa, from banks within Africa. Banks should be able to see them as a little bit less risky because the financing gap is still very huge. So how are we going to get there? How are we going to get to a point where SMEs in Africa can easily just access the financing that they need to solve these problems within the continent?
Thank you. Okay, it works. No, thank you, Vincent. I think it's a good question, and the proverb that you quoted is a very good one because I think it does apply to the problematic of SMEs. This is not just a problematic in Africa, by the way. It's across the world where developed countries, developing countries, SMEs always have a struggle to get access to finance compared to larger companies. So what we need to do is really not just to, as you said, give them a fish for the day, but help them learn how to fish. And that's the part of what we say, all the capacity building, the training, all the technical assistance that we can give. And that's what Riyad was mentioning, that's where the funding is needed, so that you help people develop skills, develop opportunities, so that then they can become sustainable. But you have to do it always with the perspective that it's not just fund somebody to help that day, it's help someone so that he or she can become a successful entrepreneur and have a sustainable career and develop. And by the way, a sustainable career for entrepreneur includes failure, includes companies can fall and it's fine. And what is important is that when a company becomes unsuccessful, that the systems also allow for I would say a rapid and clean, if I may use those words, closing, so that then the entrepreneurs can restart something different and learn from their experiences. We see that the ecosystems that are most successful are those where the facility for opening a business and for closing a business are the easiest. If it takes 3 years to close a business and the consequences are dramatic for the entrepreneurs, people will not take risks to invest anymore. And even if they take risks, they cannot take risks a second time, because the first time will be difficult. But I don't want to end on that note. I think opening businesses is very important. So let's continue helping entrepreneurs identify the right structures, the right skills that they need, helping them network, helping them find angel investors, and then that's why we work with incubators. And one of the parts that I think is very important, because we see a lot, and I've been privileged to meet a lot of entrepreneurs across Africa who come to IFC and they say, oh, I have this idea, I want to do this. And ideas are sometimes really brilliant ideas, but then we need to help them build the basis that will allow these ideas to have legs and to walk and to be sustainable, right? So build the connections, not just on the financing side, but on the technical side, on the market side, on the different aspects that are needed to make a business successful. So I think it's something that we can do. And the beauty of the Alliance is that we are not doing this, any of us, any member in the Alliance is not doing this alone. We're doing this as a platform, so we can compare notes, we can share risk, which is important. The scale of support that SME space needs in Africa is too big for any institution to tackle alone. So we need to help together, and we can leverage each other. And I was mentioning earlier the $6 billion of projects that we are financing. This is all for SMEs, so it's a lot of small projects. It's a lot of small projects. No institution could have deployed these funds by themselves.
Thank you so much.
If I may, thank you, Sergio. If I may add, in addition to the financing, also we have a large what we call non-financial service platform in Africa that we build with our partners, and we do it with our partners. We train for the last 3 years more than 26,000 SMEs on different aspects, and we do a follow-up to ensure that they have. You spoke about building capacities, and that's what we are doing, and we are doing it not only in the big markets, but we are doing, for example, we have a dedicated Sahel initiative, non-financial service, where a few months ago we trained like 800 SMEs in Chad, and that's also is important for the SMEs, access to finance and access really to capacity building. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll take one very burning question, if there is, from an African entrepreneur in the room. A burning question. Just one.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Oluwatosin Olasende. I'm the founder of a fintech startup in Nigeria. I've been hearing big numbers. We're talking $6 billion and all these other big numbers. Do you cater for startups that are looking for investment sizes of like $100,000 to even $250,000? Do you do the small ticket checks? Thank you.
You want me to? But there was, I know you said only one question, but I think the lady also had a question. Do you want to?
Yeah, let's just take one more.
Merci. En fait, ce n'était pas une question.
So thank you. It wasn't a question. It's just a contribution. I am Madam Intian, the director of the private sector for the WAMU Commission, an associated member of the Alliance, and I'd like to use this opportunity to thank the SFI for associating us to the Alliance, to indicate that through this discussion we had on agriculture, agribusiness, and health, we see the importance and the need of this partnership with the WAMU Commission in the Alliance. So this has allowed us to have a pool of startups, especially for the first agribusiness edition Here we are at the 3rd edition, and the 4th edition is actually expected to treat the issue of health. And this would allow us to support startups and to also build their capacity and support them financially. I'm thinking maybe there could be some collaborations with the different entities here, knowing that we have these startups within the WAMU that have been identified. So this is just to show my gratitude, just to let you understand that there could be a possible link between the different initiatives and associated members of the Alliance. Thank you. Thank you, and congratulations on what you do. This is a very significant initiative which contributes significantly to the success of the Alliance. So thank you for being a member of our platform.
Your question on the size of the tickets. I mean, yeah, we give the big number because it's been several years, many institutions working together. But again, all our focus is on SMEs. So most of the interactions we do are for smaller tickets. Now, what I would encourage you, because each of the institutions, you can talk with Africa Invest, you can talk with the BRD, you can talk with the other members. Each of us have a number of instruments that we brought to the Alliance saying this is how you can access funding. So I do encourage you to go to our website where you will find the different programs, and some of them are targeting like medium-sized companies, but some of them are targeting more startups and so on. There is a very interesting initiative there on around startups that has been moved forward in the context of the Alliance. So yes, there are some of these windows that are there for smaller tickets. So I hope you will find something out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Heke, do you want to jump in? Do you want to contribute? Oh, it's fine. A warm round of applause to our panelists as we close the session. Yes, I'll ask now Mr. Pimenta to give us some closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Vincent. I thought these were my concluding remarks. I think everybody's, thank you again for coming. It's been a very successful event. Thanks, Vincent, for moderating. I think he deserves a big round of applause. And I wish you a good continuation of day at the AFIS. It's a very interesting event. And I hope that you're leaving and with good ideas regarding the Alliance, and that we will have more opportunities to interact in the near future. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate your presence here.